Welcome back, I'm Paul, and it's Sunday, so today we're going to go through our 12-pound barrel, and at the end of the video I thought maybe I would kind of go through my system as far as the steps of where I run my rocks and how I sort through them and stuff. So I might touch on that a little bit because it's been a long time if I've ever really gone through it all the way through. So first we're going to clean these rocks up. That's what it looks like after a week of running. I've got some more interesting stuff on the way that I'm going to start rolling in this 12-pound tumbler. It hasn't been a lot of real neat stuff yet, but I'm going to start trying to work some more stuff into this. We do have some of our Mookieite jasper, and that's starting to round down pretty nice. And we still got some Wild Horse Picture jasper in there, so oh no, my hose sprung a leak. Gonna have to fix that. Some more of the Mookieite. It's kind of got some interesting details in it with the yellow and the maroons, and the white's even got some neat stuff in it. I think that white must be just a little softer because it really rounds down fast. It feels a lot lighter too. That's the reason I feel it must be softer. It's a lot lighter. It's not as dense or something. I'm not sure. I might have to research that a little bit. One thing I want to talk about is a lot of people ask about how long to run a barrel and how much grit to put in. Well, you can see there's no grit left at all. And I run 14 tablespoons of 4670 coarse grit in this, and I run it for 7 days. And there's never any grit left over. I've ran more before, and I've had times where there'd be a little left over. So you can see right there, just dumped out. Sometimes you'll see people that have grit stuck in the bottom of their barrel or left over, and I have no grit left over at all. I mean, there might be just a little bit. It's not gritty when I get the slurry in my fingers, so you can tell the grit's all broke down. So that's a topic that you'll see people discuss a lot. And I found that the 14 tablespoons in this 12-pound barrel for 7 days, I don't have any grit left over. So oh, geez. All right. My darn hose sprung a leak on me right at the beginning here. And I have to cut it off and retighten my clamp. So there's our last basket load. You can see some more of the Mookieite jasper. It's kind of neat. Reds and yellows and whites. All right, well, I will go through that stuff and fix my hose. And when we come back, we'll look at some of the stuff in there and we'll talk about what we're going to put in there. And I might touch on some of my steps in my process as far as I go from rolling coarse in my rotary and up to my auto tumbler, my vibratory tumbler for polish and the rest of the steps. So, all right, we've gone through the whole barrel. And this week, we've got this much that's ready to move on to the next stage. A lot of it came from a miscellaneous box that I bought online. And I don't know what a lot of it is, but I've got one piece of our conglomerate rock that is all ready to go, and we're going to polish it, see how it turns out. I've actually got another piece of the mookiite. It's a pretty boring piece of white, but it's all smoothed out, ready to go, and a piece of Wild Horse Picture Jasper. That's all ready to move on, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't know what it is. So we've got all that. We were going to look at a couple of pieces of the mookiite, see how it's coming along. There's a nice red piece, and it's starting to look pretty good. That's one of the bigger pieces. And here's a couple of the yellows, and they've got some of the specks of the purple and the white in there. And it's rounded down pretty nice. They've got a ways, that one's kind of dry, but when I get it wet, it looks like that. And that's about what it'll look like when it's polished. So it'll look pretty cool. This one's pretty neat. It's got some different stuff going on with it, all the colors. So once that one rounds off, that one will be really nice. And then we've got a piece of chert here. And it's starting to look really nice, actually. It was pretty bumpy when we put it in there, and there was a big gouge down here, and that actually went down drastically this week. I'm pretty impressed, but there's a pretty good spot on the back there, and I'm thinking that won't be in there, but maybe it'll probably still be 3 or 4 weeks, but it's coming along pretty nice. I like it. I think it'll be cool. It's got like a camo look to it. It's pretty well just light gray and dark gray and all that, but it's kind of neat. And then here's another piece that we put in there of locally found chert. And this one's got all kinds of, if it ever turns into anything, it'll be drastically smaller because I won't polish it till all those grooves and lines are gone. But I think it's a pretty solid rock with no cracks all the way through it. So once we whittle those down a little bit, it doesn't have a ton going on with it either, but it's pretty neat. It might actually be petrified wood. I'm not sure. It's got a different look to it now that it's been polished for a while. But we'll see when we get more of that gone and we can get a good look at it. And here's another one of our conglomerates. This one's we're kind of watching. I kind of like this one. It's got a hole right there on the top that I probably won't tumble it till that's gone. But I'd like to get it down a little more. There's some on the edge. But this side here is pretty nice. It's smoothed up nice, and the face on here isn't bad either. So it's probably got a couple of weeks left, but it's looking pretty nice. And here's another piece of the mookiite. There's a piece of the purple. It's got some kind of a layer. I don't know if it was between a layer of yellow and purple and it broke off and some of the yellow came with, or what that is, but it's coming off as we tumble it. And it's a little bit bumpy too, so we'll probably get that all tumbled off before we move it on. This is a agate that we've been watching a little bit. It's got the green and the pink, and you can see some bands in it. And you can really see the pink on the bottom and the green spot right here. So it's got a lot of different colors going on it. I don't know what kind of agate it is, but it's got some spots that we still want to smooth down a little bit before we polish it, but it might turn out okay. And we've got this piece of chert that had that white layer on it, and it's looking pretty good. It's getting a lot smaller, but I want to get all that off before we try to polish it. And one more piece of chalcedony, basically like a banded agate. It's got a little bit of like waterline or bands in there, but it's got, there's a spot right there, and then also the spot right there on the face where you can see like the white specks. That's rough. So I don't think it'll take but another week or two and we'll get those spots and those spots gone, and then this will be ready to polish. I think that's going to look pretty nice. There's not a ton going on with it, but it looks really cool. I like it. And then we also have this piece of agate that we're just working on tumbling off the outer rock that won't polish, and it's really coarse. It's looking a lot better though. All right, well, I'm going to have to cut the video there. I might cut back in. I hear a vehicle pulling in my driveway. All right, I'm back, and we've got all that stuff back in the barrel. And this week, we are going to fill the barrel back up with the rest of the mookiite jasper we have. And I think we're just going to call that good. Water's already in there. I've got 14 tablespoons of the 4670 silicon carbide grit. We'll add that. We'll button it up, and that'll go back on the tumbler for a week. And I might just set it out of the way. So the other thing that I was going to talk about was the rocks that I have that I just pulled out. What I do is I have this tub that has rocks that are perfect. And there's controversy you'll see online, not necessarily controversy, but a lot of opinions on whether you should store your rocks in water or not. And people say that you don't have to, but I don't see it hurting anything, so I just do. They say that if you have holes and stuff in there and the grit will dry in there and the slurry will dry in there and then you can't get it out. And that's why they say if you leave it in water between stages, it won't dry in there and then it won't, like, essentially turn to concrete in your cracks. So I have these two, and these ones have flaws and cracks and stuff that I can't get rid of, or I would have to bust the rock in half and it would be a tiny rock when I'm done or whatever. So I found flaws that I'm willing to live with, and these ones are essentially all perfect. So I always take the rocks that I have out of the barrel, and some of these are perfect and some of them will have flaws in them, and I sort them into those two containers. And once I get a container, one of these just about full is enough to run a batch of my lotto tumbler, which is my vibratory tumbler where I do medium and pre-polish and polish. So that's basically what I do is I'm rolling coarse grit in my 12-pound barrel, and then I have two 3-pound barrels that are running coarse grit all the time, and I sort them into these until I'm ready to run a batch of my lotto tumbler, and then they'll run in the lotto tumbler. So that's kind of my setup and my system. And so far, it does pretty good. But my rotary tumblers don't tumble fast enough with some of the material I'm using. Some of this stuff is really, really broken and jagged, so it just rolls for a long time to get it to where I want it. And I can't keep up. So my lotto tumbler's been sitting for about a week now with nothing in it because I don't have anything ready. And it doesn't look like it's going to run this week either because I'm not ready. But I think once I get different material in my 12-pounder, like some of this mookiite, and I've got some polychrome jasper, and I've got some other stuff coming, we'll get some more interesting stuff in there, and it won't be as jagged, and I'm hoping it'll tumble faster so we can keep the rotary tumbler busy. But that's kind of my sequence and how I kind of run things. So I just figured I would share some of that. But that's all we have for today, and we will be back next week and we'll go through that barrel again. Thanks for watching.